"Class, please be quiet," Miss Ricky proclaimed with a loud clap of her long-clawed hands. "Come now, it's time to learn about Earth." Her students scowled in anticipation of yet another planetary lesson, and she pursed her bright yellow lips in annoyance. Her Amra had a hard time getting used to teaching her R, who had learned incredibly fast via text, able to read more than one book with her 2 sets of slits, eye complex brains, and whose racist leaders had initially sought to keep humans at a distance. Human delegates had disseminated word about the magnificent furry dragon people of the stars, and the resulting avalanche of attention made the council leaders uneasy, though they were all flattered by the response their people received in the images. However, the Zamra approached the humans with great caution, as their eagerness seemed to be a result of something about them: their silky skin, their head fronds, their short thick tails, or their refined features. It is believed that in the past, humans may have had dragon-like creatures on Earth. Unfortunately, these creatures died of an unknown illness. The Zamora spent years studying draconic images found all over the planet, leading many of their scholars to believe that humans had an obsession with these creatures. Uncomfortably, this put humanity in the spotlight. At this moment, Miss Ricky wishes that the other stars before her had the same level of. The mixed-gender classroom showed little interest in her lessons, and she hated having to explain things to adults. A young blue eyepal pondered, carelessly balanced a digital stylus on her nose, that Earth's history was all a fabrication. "I've heard they all just look in giant gyms and are all born in vats," she said, while a bright pink optician scoffed. "This isn't about how humans are made, it's about their world," Miss Ricky said, her expression changing from admiration to disapproval. I can hear the collective groan coming from the optician in the room as Miss Ricky crossed her arms and yelled out, "We're going to cover human cultures and biology later on in our studies of the Synderal Confederation. If this is supposed to prepare you for your future careers, then how will you know what to expect when visiting other planets? I'm sure you're all familiar with the folly that preceded the optician's visit to Earth." Recalling the infamous splash caused by their first pilots plunging their craft into Earth's dirt, the young Yoro snatched her stylus from her nose as her companion, a male Yoro with fur-like furlight, spoke up. His words had no impact whatsoever, and even while they were exercising on that pointless orbital platform, their hearts were still too weak to withstand the lack of gravity or even the effects of it. The optician ran the risk of heart failure if they were to run too fast. "It might be a good idea to put them in pressure suits while they play in the flowers," the blue female Yoral said, smiling at the male Fang Blue. Miss Ricky tried to calm them down, but the opticans rose to their feet in a fit of outrage. The pink male optician swung his clawed hand as hard as he dared onto the table they shared, shouting, "We can earn our way through strength like the rest of you." The opticans rounded on the blue female optican, and yellow female opticans slammed down on the blue. "Lady Yoral, the rest of us have been transforming our entire base into gravity chambers to strengthen ourselves for the long haul. Throughout the war, all you did was hide and mine asteroids, which makes you look smug." Miss Ricky, on the other hand, slammed her thick hands against her own table, rattling her data slates and causing her jewelry to rattle against her shoulders. "Enough is enough. I refuse to have this kind of confrontation in my classroom." The rest of the students, including Opin, observed how Miss Ricky's head fronds were. In the room, Lake Pa and Jean exchanged confused looks. They were all new to the Cinder Confederation, and Jean was the most perplexed. Miss Ricky cleared her throat, smoothed down the front of her teaching robes, and re-established her mantle of duty as the room trembled with her anger. Samara and her fellow race members either sat back down or leaned forward in their seats, depending on how enraged they got. Having been nearly wiped out in the war against the Darrier, the headed race was seeking revenge on humans for their role in preserving their culture. At their peak, they numbered in the low millions, with only a small fraction of that number showing their face outside of their curved masks. "Earth, yes Earth," Miss Ricky said, turning and tapping the data screen to bring it back. The blue female Yoral spoke up again, causing the males around her to roll their eyes. This time, Miss Ricky spun around, her fronds out and deployed, and she fixed the Yoral with a steely glare. Miss Mirrock clapped her hands to her head, her body suddenly filled with immense dread. "Wait, Merrick began to wail, her fingers digging into her head fur. Miss Ricky focused her will on the arrogant Ural, telling her to be quiet. Miss Ricky said firmly over the intercom, interrupting her. Cries of the Ural erupted from Mir's trembling dragonflies, and she cried out, "Okay, I'm sorry, stop it." Miss Ricky's fronds deflated and lay neatly against her head and neck as she glanced around the room, checking to see if anyone else was planning to disrupt my class. A number of heads shook back and forth, and Jean wondered what on earth they had gotten themselves into. Miss Ricky cleared her throat, smoothed her robes again, and gestured toward the screen, and I announced that the Earth had been classified. A planet with abnormally high gravity that has killed off its inhabitants and their culture. Humans, as is well known, are a very aggressive species that has trained for war for thousands of years, or maybe even longer, because the planet's gravity has made them grow enormously strong muscles. However, the Confederation soldiers training alongside the humans have noticed that the humans were out much more quickly and don't have the stamina to complete combat trials. Miss Ricky, tapping her fingers together, made the data screen flash through multiple pictures of humans dominating training on other worlds as part of the military exchange program. There were people hurling euro-shaped grain sacks into the air and people bending Zamara nearly in half during combat trials. While humans are clever, they lack the focused intelligence that the rest of us possess. That is not to say humans are stupid, though they are highly. The beings in question are formidable predators with lightning-fast minds and on-the-go calculations that even the Optician find difficult to keep up with. One juniper-colored Ural raised his hand in protest, and Miss Ricky pointed to him. "Why haven't humans taken over the Confederation? If we're so powerful, why not do what the dear mayor tried?" she asked, her smile betraying her anger. Screen transitions to another set of slides showcasing humans laughing and smiling with other races. They are friendly and sociable people who seem to like us, so they aren't being aggressive. In fact, when it comes to working with humans, they only get aggressive when they're being aggressively treated. At one point, a female Jinn waved her top arm, asking why the Zra don't engage in social interactions with humans. Miss Ricky blushed because she hadn't. She crossed her arms and began to speak, her voice trailing off as she cleared her throat. When we first made contact, the humans were enamored with us and our council of leadership feared that they were seducing too many Zra women, she said with a hint of humor. Half of the landing party went off mission and have yet to leave Earth, leading Zarma leadership to panic because they were causing social issues, Miss Ricky said, shaking her head in response. DFAIC scholars believe that humans are like an infection and will work their way into all levels of society among the races of the stars. However, despite this outlook, tendrils were starting to slightly flare in embarrassment and our council of leadership feared that it would cause a social death. The female Jinn murmured something while tilting her masked face slightly, suggesting that humans caused death on multiple levels. Miss Ricky agreed, tapping through more slides slowly to let the students look. It doesn't matter how the other races look, meeting humans is uplifting for them. Last week, one of the gelatinous Auror made friends with a human, which lifted the entire race out of its emotional rut. Someone raised an eyebrow and asked, "Aren't the ogre just a race of intelligent jelly balls that live in suits? I've heard they have tentacles that work little nodes in their suits to make them move." These highly advanced invertebrate people were discovered on their planet relatively recently, but nobody wanted to. Earth has multiple biodomes because humans don't want to control the weather or temperature. As you all know, the Confederation at large uses tempering to make sure all planets are as comfortable as possible for all those visiting, but this planet doesn't do what Miss Ricky mused about, it works with balls of slime with tentacles. The camera panned in closer to a flat map of Earth, revealing different temperature zones. In some places, the temperature can drop to 35 degrees Celsius, which is 135 degrees Fahrenheit according to human standards, while in others, it can reach 34 degrees Celsius, which is 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Why do they let temperatures like this exist? A confused male Ipel asked, his gaze fixed on the screen. I don't know, Miss Ricky shrugged, her tone matter of fact. but some of them actually live there or visit there for the. This is nothing new. Humans have been at war with their planet's weather for almost as long as they've been at war with each other. When I asked why, Miss Reiki pursed her thick lips and shrugged. Perhaps it's because they've mastered all the other predators on their planet and view the weather as their last remaining challenge. This mentality permeates their sports, many of which are illegal for other members of the. There are a lot of different kinds of sports that the Confederation allows, including wrestling, which a female Jean enthusiastically called out as she was on the verge of standing up. Miss Ricky, however, giggled politely as she swiftly tapped her fingers to her palm in order to change the topic to human sports. Extreme human sports, on the other hand, are illegal due to the high death toll they cause. Jin inquired again about this, and Miss Ricky said that many people actually do things like climb or dive into caves, where they face the danger of crushing or drowning. I leaped from great heights holding only a sheet of nylon to arrest my fall, riding terrifying beasts on planks of wood, ascending rock faces without safety gear, racing around in combustion engine vehicles, and more. Miss Ricky listed each sport until she reached one featuring two brutal humans in a netted ring, in extreme sparring, in which male and female humans alike batter each other until one of them runs out of time. Miss RCKY's expression turned sour as she bemoaned the sight of a female human being bleeding heavily from the face. She then moved on to another lie, suggesting that humans are fighting an endless war against an unstoppable enemy. Ayo, her golden locks glistening in the classroom light, inquired, "What kind of beasts do they ride?" Miss RCKY actually laughed, acknowledging the truth, but adding that humans do not follow such rules because they believe in them. Isn't it unfair that they say that? The PO scoffed at the idea, saying, "What's unfair about evolution?" Miss Reiki raised her eyebrows and asked, "You think humans keep the big animals alive in cages?" The point blanched, her eyes widening in surprise. "They're in cages, right?" Miss Reiki quickly tapped her thumb to bring up the correct slide, and the class recoiled in amazement. Jean got up from his chair and grabbed a. Stepping back a bit, "This is a grizzly bear. It's a predator on Earth and you can see the fear in their eyes as their confidence fades." Miss Ricky said with a grin, "You can see their fear as their bravado goes. The bear can reach speeds of over 35 miles per hour, 66.5% of the Earth's surface speed, which means it can catch you when you're running at full speed." Everyone in the room looked stunned, if not downright terrified. Miss Ricky continued by saying that grizzly bears have a bite strong enough to cleave through human bones, which is quite hard. Now let's move on to the land predators, such as lions, which can reach speeds of up to 37 miles per hour in short bursts during ambushes and have bite forces comparable to those of grizzly bears. Then there are the land predators, like cheetahs, which can reach speeds of up to 80 miles per hour and have bite forces lower than those of the lions. Miss Ricky continued by clicking through the major land predators on Earth. Next, we have the aquatic predators, like killer whales, sharks, and barracuda. Then there are the land predators, like hippos and tigers, which roam freely without cages or gates. Humans are known to keep both canine and feline predators as pets. Why do they do this? The creatures are monsters. A male Ural shook, his tawny yellow fur trembling. Miss Reiki nodded in agreement, laughing calmly and shaking her head. She still couldn't believe humans had told her this directly. Animals keep these creatures around because nature would be too boring without them. The room fell silent as the words sunk in. Miss Ricky whirled around, nudging the desk ever so slightly, and inserted a new data chip into the data screen. Nature would be left in the dark, they say, without the pizzazz that makes it special. With a quick tap of her finger, she brought up a plethora of pictures of predators on land and in the water. People think their world is healthier with these predators, and they're right. Baffling aspect of human culture that has baffled the Confederation from the very beginning. People don't just want to leave the Earth as unspoiled as possible, they want to preserve the natural order of things intact, regardless of the cost. This includes humans themselves. Just last week, A black bear chased and killed a human hiker, and the humans responded by killing all the black bears. Miss Ricky nodded in agreement. They found the bear and killed it. But why did they only kill that one bear? Carlin muttered under her breath, tapping her chin. What's the point of sacrificing yourself to these animals? Miss Ricky asked, her voice trembling. I think they are as much a part of their planet as everything else. And I am one of the few who believe that humans do gain power from our planet. Just like you, I've come to the realization that in order for humans to maintain their strength, it's crucial to preserve our planet in its natural state. Danger lurks around every bush and blade of grass, so we can't afford to get complacent. Even when we stand in a stream, we can't imagine ourselves safe from the ancient predators, who viewed humans as weak and filtered them out by the planet's harsh weather and gravity. Earth has been dubbed a death planet, and the presence of these land predators is what really makes that designation stick. Miss Ricky gestured to a few students sitting near the front of the classroom and said, "You have eradicated all of your ancient and new predators. This will stick with you. You will believe you are safe on Earth and won't notice the wolves creeping up on you wolves." In response to a question from a student named Yorl, Miss Ricky tapped her pinky finger to the broad muscle of her thumb and pulled up an article of the Confederation to illustrate her point. 3 engineers were found partially eaten and mauled to death inside their tent after going camping without a guide. Miss Ricky pointed a finger at the crime scene photos showing the dismembered victims, saying, "They disregarded the rules and warnings. They didn't bring a human guide. They thought they were too advanced to be preyed upon by some little human animal. This is just the latest incident, and the Confederation is still debating whether to ban wolves." The other races were prohibited from going outside of military bases or major cities. A female Ipel looked up at the images horrified, her paws reaching toward her cheeks. Miss Ricky whispered that this had happened days before a PO was almost killed by a honey badger. The PO had been training on the African continent and had strayed too far from the path, thinking the animal was a cat. Jean looked up at the screen, her hand racing as Miss Ricky showed pictures. Miss Ricky responded by folding her arms over her chest. Humans thrive in these dangerous conditions. That is why all of you must exercise extreme caution if you find yourselves on Earth. You are not built like humans and do not have the honed minds of them. There are even rumors of humans having a sixth sense, an innate way of seeing. The grasslands were a dangerous place for the creatures side by side, and the humans had to use pressure wraps to keep the creatures from bleeding out. Merrick glanced over at Miss Ricky, who had been studying the slide depicting an earth and maned wolf and other creatures that humans had attempted to eradicate but failed to do so. These beings, which are so rare and terrifying that they are ingrained in their folklore, are believed to lurk in the depths of the woods or underground, and they possess this ability to sense impending danger even before they see it. Here we have a hideous beast with twisted horns growing from its head and hideous appendages. These monstrosities are called skinwalkers, and they're real. Leading paleontologists and paleontologists have verified their existence, and evidence of their existence in the Appalachians suggests that they may have been the first real apex predator that humans had to face. There were others, but this particular one is among the few that is still alive, and we are. Miss Ricky rubbed her temple and chuckled. Then there's the problem of humans wanting to resurrect some of their ancient predators, like the Irish elk. This has angered the humans, and now there's news that the Tasmanian tiger is roaming the earth again. Now the humans are planning to resurrect old Occupant, who gasped and clutched his talons to his face in shock. They've been fantasizing about this for a long time, and they're finally getting their wish. Listen to the old tapes where Miss Ricky severed the optic nerve. It has already been brought up. Believe me when I say that almost every citizen of the Confederation has seen what once lived on Earth through their historical records. Nobody wants to see those creatures return, either to Earth or anywhere else. The room murmured its gratitude that humans were being limited to that extent, but it also wondered curiously about what. Hey, guess what else used to live on that planet all those years ago? Miss Ricky made sure everyone paid attention by saying, "Remember, Earth is the most dangerous planet known to the Confederation, second only to their home planet, which is a broken chunk of rock thanks to humans. So, if you want to visit Earth, you have to be under humans' careful observation so no one else gets eaten by the predators that roam free. It seems counterintuitive, but this is just how humans are. As top predators, we take power from letting others live by their own choice. Grizzly bears don't live because they're scary to humans. Humans let them live because they have the power to wipe them out overnight. With dominance comes the need to control, and this is one of the reasons Earth is seen as a dangerous place is because of humans. It's important to be smart around them so you don't get eaten alive. On a smaller scale, though, humans are necessary for the survival of larger, more dangerous predators. Their planet wouldn't be healthy without them. The only thing that keeps humans from becoming a global threat is their friendly nature and strong social bonds. Be mindful of the Confederation's natural reality at all times. Miss Ricky's desk chimed, and she nodded. That was all the time we have for today. With the class dismissed, she turned off the lights and data screens and made her way down the long hallways of the secondary space station orbiting Earth. One station was slightly older and larger, serving as a transit hub and training facility. The other station was mostly inhabited by Optician, who used it for their own gravity training. Everything was at Earth level here, with the exception of the transit columns that had rails of hoops to hold onto. People were shuffled along in zero gravity to reach the station level using these columns instead of the cumbersome elevators. Instead, Miss Ricky took a loop that dragged her through zero gravity to the living quarters. She got off at her level, and gravity eased back into Earth gravity. As she walked past the bulkhead and made her way to her hab unit, she placed her hand on the reader. The door swung open with a sharp click, and Miss Reiki stepped inside, her smile widening. The person inside stood there, wiping their hands on a dish towel. "Well, look who it is. I've got dinner ready." "Come sit down," the man said, rolling his shoulder as he tossed the towel into the sink. Miss Reiki's smile grew even wider as she closed the door behind her and entered the kitchen with elegant hip swings. "Oh, you know just how dangerous humans can be, don't you?"